This is a warning to all of the immortals that whosoever opens this chest of demons will release 13 of the most terrifying ghosts upon the face of the earth. Only you can return the demons to the chest because you let them out. Hello everyone. Seeing as how it's still Scooptober, I thought I would ease into my videos on this franchise as I've known to do with an adaptation that I admittedly really do have some affection for, but at the same time also fully acknowledge why it became the last incarnation of the run, lasting fittingly just 13 episodes, starting on September 7th, 1985, and ending on December 7th of that same year, marking a dry spell for the TV show for a brief time. Though, like a lot of things that they're dealing with, nothing stays buried forever. So, let's talk about my complicated relationship with the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. Let's get started. This was also one of the last show to my knowledge of what is known as the Red Shirt era, as a series of spin-offs including TV movies that had Shaggy he wear a red shirt instead of like the green one he wears in most incarnations. And while it is another adaptation where Daphne has agency, he and was a recurring feature in a lot of other adaptations, and it also was continuing the divisive Scrappy, as well as introducing another one that's point of contention for a lot of people in the fan base, is the child grifter Flim Flam. I might as well get this out of the way before I continue with the mock headlines of Scrappy-Doo found dead in Miami, with an autopsy to determine the cause currently in progress, and Flim Flam also has been indicted for securities and wire fraud relating to his own bespoke cryptocurrency known as the Flam Coin. Now that I've got that bit out of the way, let's continue. Granted, the show did have a lot going for it, if you actually break it down, and it's often those qualities I actually really appreciate it for the most part, where it was actually one of the first major attempts to have the paranormal threats they're facing, like the ghosts and demons be real rather than a hoax, and I mean it in the sense of an actual hoax like a con man and a Halloween mask, not just dismissing something you don't like. And also in another one, an early attempt at having a serialized narrative, which is common for a lot of animation today, but for the time and indeed the franchise, it was definitely quite the move, especially with her future, her Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain, in creative, Tom Ruegger be involved as well, and it also introduced the element of poking fun at pop culture, with the most notable example being the late great Vincent Price being the voice and model of Vincent Van Gogh, who will become quite the beloved figure in the franchise, and even though this may not be Vincent's best work, given how he left behind quite the legacy upon his passing in 1991, and I'm not one to turn down one of those delicious voiceovers from him at all, of his taste of Scooby snacks. And as for involving Scrappy, he, I'd say that the discourse at the time and was not too dissimilar to the discourse around the minions nowadays, and not just for the obvious proliferation that went on at the time, where, depending on who you ask, you may find someone who likes them, or at least puts up with them, or find someone who actively despises them, with the latter being easily once more disproportionate. On that note, the presence of the bumbling in henchmen and ghosts Bozo and Weird, who look kind of like you ordered the Stay Puffed one or any one Ghostbusters from Timu, who feel like they want home in some of the more absurdist spin-offs, like with Ghoul School, Boo Brothers, like a couple examples of the other TV movies I had in the Red Shirt era. I mean, and admittedly, by 1985, the tried and true formula was starting to show its age. I wouldn't say, hey, it was a new Coke rebrand like I've mentioned other ones, and so much so that because of all the blowback, you would wave the white flag after less than 3 months on Spain. But at the same time, it had a similar one, like a flawed but necessary experiment and for the franchise. I mean, because more than one incarnation would also, and in later years, would also make an effort to make the paranormal threats real instead of just being someone trying to pull a real estate swindle or in a costume, whom to varying with success. Yes, and it would also not be the last Scooby-Doo adaptation that had some sense of continuity as opposed to just being in a monster of the week. Heck, my favorite incarnation and Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated did both, having like an overarching storyline, and as well as hinting that there were real paranormal elements behind the mysteries they're solving. I mean, and that is still one aspect that is kept constant, the mystery aspect, where the whole insane incident and starts when their plane goes down in the Himalayas, as and they end up stumbling upon the chest of demons. So your classic Celia on the Canaan scenario area where you manage to quickly let the ghost out of the box. I got him back in there, and just when they were about to find the last one, the show was canceled. I mean, there's been a lot of reasons cited. I mean, from franchise fatigue to declining ratings, as well as some parents groups also did not take kindly to the idea of featuring real old demons in their cartoons. It's amazing to see how little about that kind of discourse has changed over 40 years, and how it can often have the same fatal flaw, a constant lack of research. You might want to try it sometime, guys. Especially since I watched all 13 episodes of the show before I even started making this video. I just finished the last one before I hit record, man. Even if I may not like a single adaptation and I cover, I still will make sure to do that for the express purpose of having all the details correct. I also will say that another thing that amused me is a few bits of Shaggy posing as a TV announcer in a couple episodes, which is a nice little nod to Casey Kase's background as a disc jockey. He and voice acting ain't pretty solid from all I mean. Not one to say no to our man of a thousand voices, Frank Welker. Her. And also, like how, even with the limitation they had in terms of the animation, they still went to a lot with the lighting, shadows, even the color palettes. As for definitely, he just deliberately made more theatrical, as opposed to the usually colorful places like the malt shop and other places like the ocean land and aquarium. I mean, what I want to know is where's the caveman? This is certainly not the only piece of pop culture I've had a complicated relationship with. The main, like other adaptations of franchise I've been a fan of. I consider the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo to be a flawed but necessary and often entertaining experiment inherent within the long history of the franchise. I'm still low key excited with the upcoming Go Go Mystery Machine, which is going to be seen in Scooby and Shaggy go to Japan to face off against a host of their mythical beasts and also companions. It's also on top of having new versions of Fred, Velma, and Daphne. I'm especially curious to see what the companions they're going to be in the Far East, especially this cute young lady with pink hair. I mean, because it's clearly sometimes names when you're dealing with the paranormal, you gotta have unconventional hair. I mean, come on, I'm spending a lot of nights binging Dawn to Dawn. I mean, on so there's that. And they did decades later, especially appreciative of that second generation fan of the show, who did conclude the story with a DTV movie, which actually was pretty decent, but that's a matter for another day. First, I have some unfinished business with horror films I've yet to explore this year, and both my favorite and my least favorite incarnation of the franchise. I did tip my hand to my favorite incarnation, though my least favorite might not be the one you think it is. I can definitely tell you what it isn't for starters. Like, even with the discourse and my lack of surprise, they axed the show a year ago. Oh, hate watching be danged. And it's not Velma, I'll say that much. That'll be all for now, and I'll see you all again soon. Take care.